All right. Going to let some people in here. So good to see everyone. Oh, I love our Tuesday mornings. Louise, hi, how are you? How are things in South Africa?
All is good, thank you, Desi. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Had a
Good.
wonderful weekend. It was drone safety day on Saturday. So weather's good. Hi, Sharon. I see Sharon. Alina, hi. So good to see everyone. All right, we have a note taker here. Luis, you have a note taker.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to turn it off. I apologize. Don't accept it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, Carolyn, good to see you as well. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to let a few more people in, and looks like we have several people jumping in here. And I do have our spotlight speaker on his mobile phone right now, but we're having some not technical difficulties in any way, but traffic difficulties. So we're going to give it a few minutes before we'll be able to segue over to him. But that is actually a great opportunity. Kimberly, hi, how are you? Good to see you as well. Um, so this is a fantastic opportunity to be able to share with each other, tell us where you're at in the industry, what's new, anything happening. And we had Drone Safety Day last weekend, so I know people were out doing things. So I'd love to hear from you. And we're about networking. So this gives us an opportunity to just do some networking right now. So I would love to hear your story. Carolyn, I see you are unmiked. So I am actually going to call out on you and just ask you to share your story.
Well, I'm sad to report that MassDOT's Drone Safety Day, because of weather, got rained out, but we have
Oh, no.
rescheduled to May 10th. So if you're in the East Coast on May 10th, please come join us. I believe we're going through Eventbrite for the free tickets and lunch and whatnot. So we would love to have those that are in the area come join. And for my updates, I'm happy to say I have 13 new highway engineers that just started our online class yesterday. One person has already passed the first test, done 2 discussions, and I'm calling them Oceans 13 at the moment because I haven't come up with another anagram for them yet.
Well, it'll probably stick at this point, right? Oh, I love it. I love it. Kimberly, how about you? I would love to hear from you and share maybe some of the updates that you have.
Sure, sure. I don't have a whole lot of updates. We are working on a course where we bring an Embry Riddle. We bring our students from around the world. Some of them have come internationally, but they come in to Daytona Beach, Florida for the residency. So we offer online courses, and then they come here this weekend from all over to be able to do their AUVSI top certification training. And then they're in their undergrad and grad courses. So some of them that I teach will get a chance to work on some of their Pix 4D projects. They all have different projects. They work on search and rescue, different scenarios, and then process their data, but they love it. So we do their checkout rides for level 1 and 2 the first day, and then the second day, if they want to get top 3 certified, they can. So it's always fun to meet the students because we work with them online all the time. And a lot of them are already in industry. But that's with me. So I've just been flying, trying to make sure get our inventory set up so that all the aircrafts are ready for them to look at, experience. And we have some new ones. The students, a lot of them come with their Evo 2s, but they really have a chance this weekend to try all different kinds of aircrafts. So a lot of them like the Matrice 350. We've got the Enterprise out there, the Mavic, a lot of different ones. So they have fun with it.
Oh, what a great opportunity. Like you said, when you're doing things online, to have that opportunity to actually meet in person. And
Absolutely.
being online is great. So I love everybody being here and we're able to share. But yeah, in person just makes a
Oh yeah.
difference.
And there's so much they learn being able to fly here in Daytona Beach too, because you've got such a diverse shared airspace of where we're flying. So they're learning about how to, when anytime they're sharing that airspace, what it looks like for Lance authorizations. We actually have opportunities. Some of them go up and take a tour of the ATC tower when they come here, just to be able to kind of see who the people are there, understand more of the safety behind flying rather than just flying the different aircrafts. So it's neat.
I love that. I love that. Okay, I have to ask, Carolyn, when you were in my class, did you do the tour of the tower?
Yes, we went to
What
Carlsbad and
Okay.
Coronado.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's neat to look and see who is actually answering, who is approving these Lance authorizations, what's it look like behind everything. So yeah.
yeah. And yeah, just the whole behind the scenes, seeing that process. And when it's on such a mass operation of larger airports, that process of handing things off to the next person, and yeah, just that
Oh
whole
yeah.
process is amazing
And
too.
the air boss who's behind it, because typically one residency will have about 35 aircrafts in the air all at once. So I think that whole flight planning is really important for students to know what they're doing. Yeah,
Yes, excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
absolutely.
Awesome. Does anybody else have a story to share or maybe something from the event that they went to? I think I even see Tawny Smith on here. Do you want to share at all? I don't actually see you, Tawny, so you might just be in listen mode. I get it. Um, but if you want to share a little bit about your event. Also, I encourage you to take an opportunity to put your information into our chat. This is how we network. This is how we connect. We literally, I can say we are global today. We have South Africa even sharing here today. There we go. All right. So I got from Tani, she says she's here, but having some difficulties. Awesome. All right. Well, I know everyone is here because of the spotlight speaker. And it looks like we may be getting close. Again, I apologize because, if you're at all in Southern California, there's traffic, right? So Johnny left early, tried to get ahead of the game, still ended up in traffic. And I'm thinking, Johnny, are you ready? He is ready. We got thumbs up here. I love it. All right. So I'm going to let a couple more people in. We have our guest speaker here with us. I will make him spotlight for everyone and we'll make him co-host. So we have with us Johnny Keeler, and I'm super excited to have him here today. He's going to be sharing with us about what he's doing as far as pre-flight planning, the safety side of things, and he is got an amazing title. I love this. So he is the test pilot and he does work for Modal Ai. And so he is definitely going to have some safety measures in place because I love this part. You have to expect the unexpected. When you are running integration and testing out new equipment, you really have to be prepared. So I'm super excited to have Johnny here with us today. And Johnny, I am going to turn it over to you. First, tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got where you are today. But we don't hear you. There we go.
All right, hello. Hold on.
We hear you now. We don't see them. Okay.
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you and now we see you.
Okay. Okay, so hello everybody. Pleasure to meet everyone. I'm a poor soul. That has struggled to kind of just like everyone else trying to find their place in life and happiness and all that stuff. And I started out military brat, martial artist, got myself into all sorts of sports, graduated high school, got into construction, and that ended up being kind of a stepping stone towards architecture, which I ended up getting an architecture degree. And, part of the requirements, architecture, learning how to use a computer. So I took that even further, went to become a VFX compositor, worked in a couple production houses. And one opportunity, I got to go out to the field while filming a short film. Someone brought out a drone. And for a couple hours,
1 second.
I forgot what my job was. I was fascinated with this. I think it was a Phantom 3 that they brought out, and we used it for part of the showcase. But I kept getting in trouble because I kept, stepping to the side and looking at the drone and stuff. Well, after I got my degree, I came home with the goal of getting my own drone, which I did. And I flew it around the house, learned how to take pictures and do all the usual stuff on my own time. Eventually, COVID hit and everything came to the standstill, as everybody knows. And I'm a restless type. I've got to do something like all the time. I can't.
Yeah, we're getting
sit still.
nauseous, Johnny, watching you. I'm sorry, dear.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't.
I was trying to get you to stop for a sec. So we aren't seeing you. There we go. That's better. There. All we can see is the side of you.
Okay. Sorry.
Hold on. We don't see anything yet.
I'm sorry.
All we're seeing is the bridge. We're doing a bridge.
Please stop moving. Please.
Okay. I'll try to stop moving.
Okay.
So where was I? Oh, COVID. COVID hit, and I was still flying my drone on my own personal time. One of my friends ended up showing me an ad in the paper. Maricosta College was hosting a class to learn how to fly a drone. So I enrolled in the class, and that's where I met Desi for the first time. And I still remember the first day I met her, she had an Inspire 2 sitting right on the desk, and I had to have one. So, side note, I bought one a little bit later. But Desi and Mark took me through the course. They trained me how to become a 107 pilot and told me that I could use it to make a living and whatnot, which was a real surprise because that was one of the unexpected things about the course. Got the license, and I aspired to create my own drone business, which it turns out I'm more techie and not business management-y. So I like messing with stuff with my hands and using my brains, but when it comes to marketing myself, I probably couldn't sell air conditioners to Eskimos. So that's going to be a real tough sell there. So needless to say, I go back to construction, and while I'm there, one of my friends tells me, hey, there's an opportunity with this company. They're looking for a test pilot. It's down here in San Diego. I applied. I basically presented myself to them and told them, my experience and basically everything I just told everybody there. And then when they reached out to the school, they said, yeah, Johnny's I think they said I was a fireball. I think that's the word that still kind of hangs in the air. In any case, they took a chance on me, and I'm really thankful. This is where I owe Desi 1,000 thanks of gratitude, because without her training, without that opportunity, I wouldn't have the job now. It's really changed my life. And now I've been doing this for over 3 years. We just had my 3rd year anniversary here at the company, and I really love what I do. It's kind of complicated, and a lot of people don't want to touch my job because of the hazards involved, the anxiety it brings. And I don't know, is there anything else I could probably add before? Well, I got to stop moving around. Anything I can add before I kind of start my little impromptu presentation? I'm going to be shooting from the hip a little bit here.
Well, obviously. So a couple things that I'd like to ask Johnny is if you could stop moving, and we actually are not seeing all of you.
Yeah, I can't hear. My headphones didn't work, so I don't know what the deal is.
Okay.
I was,
Okay.
and now I'm trying to use here. Let me see. I'll go inside the car. Give me a second. Sorry.
Okay. So, this is a really good time to say that we are all human. And my networking is all about being real, being out there. And everyone in the drone industry knows you get thrown a curveball and you just go with it, right? And so this is exactly what happened. And so Johnny had planned to be in the studio where he works, and Southern California traffic got in the way. So
Yeah, so it left for very little prep time. I actually grabbed a whole bunch of videos that I really wanted to share, but because of the situation, it's busy inside, so it wouldn't have been good. My spot, my desk is right next to the flight cage. So while I would have been trying to do this presentation, you would just hear drones and drones and drones flying in the background, which, some of them are quiet, some of them are pretty loud. But there's constant flights happening all the time, which, by the way, Desi, just so you know, I did a recent update on my flight log, and I am very close to 500 hours since
nice.
the start of 107.
Nice, nice. So, Johnny, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your pre-flight planning. So, when you are testing equipment, you have to have a lot of safety and you have to go through your checklist and such like that. Tell us a little bit about that workflow.
So I guess that's where hmm, that's where a little bit of the anxiety comes from, is because most people who have a drone, who own a drone, who use it to, make a living for themselves and whatnot, quite reliable. You buy it, it works as intended out of the package. Whereas mine, the company will hand me a drone, and I'm basically the bottleneck between hardware and the software team. So they're constantly throwing some kind of new piece of hardware that the software team has thrown a new package on, and they want me to go through my checks and make sure it works right. And I got to tell you, there has been days where at zero throttle, when I arm the drone, the the motors would just crank up and it would go 60, 80 miles an hour straight into the ceiling. Just bam, smash, and there would be debris, parts everywhere. You just never know. It happens. It happens so fast. So I say there's a blessing for everybody who owns a nice, stable commercial drone that you've bought off the shelf, is that it's reliable, it's tested, and it's true. Mine, on the other hand, man, I don't know what happens sometimes. Like just I'll turn it on and then it'll just start rolling right, and I got to catch it, the different flight modes. So when I go through the systems, I basically every day it's practice. I go through the systems top to bottom. Start looking at the hardware. I make sure that I don't have any broken or chipped props. Broken and chipped props decrease the flight time performance or flight time life, because the motor has to work maybe a little bit harder or something, creating more resistance. Or if you have a broken prop, now the motors have to spin harder to maintain a level altitude for whatever you're trying to do. So any kind of damaged props really, really reduce performance, by seconds, sometimes minutes, just depending on how severe. Um, so that's just the prop ends. If you have a chance to get nice, shiny new prop ones, go for it, please. It's worth it. Then there's the motors. I spin every motor by hand, making sure that there's no debris, that there's nothing inside the motors that will hinder its performance as well. Anybody that knows that has gotten one grain of sand stuck in your motor, it really, really causes havoc on that drone overall. And to share a point, like, one grain of sand doesn't sound like much, but if you think about what one grain of sand would do to your cylinder in an engine, it will sandpaper it for as long as you're driving it, and it'll just reach to a point of critical failure. The wires, the copper wires on your motors that's wrapped around the stators, they have it. I mean, even though it is a copper wire, there's a tiny, tiny protective coat around the copper wire, and it's thinner than a strand of hair. And if you think that one grain of sand ain't going to be a problem, well, one grain of sand will slice through that protective coat. And if two copper wires arc wrong, you're going to end up with a motor burnout. So spin your motors freely by hand and just make sure that there's nothing in there that's going to inhibit its performance to perform the way it was intended. And anybody who's ever tried to blow, use a blower or a vacuum to get one grain of sand out, it's not worth it. You spend so much time just trying to get rid of one thing. And, you're really taking a chance if you just go, screw it, I'm going to fly my drone anyway. Well, that's potential hazard in the air. And at any point, if that motor decides to arc, your drone's going to fall out of the sky. The next thing I basically check, I bend the frame, make sure everything's nice and firm, that there's no loose nuts. I twist and turn almost everything. I make sure that everything that's supposed to move moves, everything that's not supposed to move doesn't move. I go through the cameras. I make sure that all the cameras are clean. If I have to get the wipes or just a nice lint-free cloth, I will clean those, because for one, camera image quality, for any photographers that's going out there looking for high quality images, you get one piece of lint right there in the middle of your screen and you overlooked it. Well, now you've got all these beautiful shots with one piece of lint right in the middle of your snapshot, and I'm sure that doesn't sell well. On the camera and sensor sides, you got to make sure that those are free of obstructions and that the camera lenses are free, because for like our drones, our cameras don't use, well, the drones that I test don't use GPS. It uses camera vision system for stable position holds. So if the cameras are dirty, then it's picking up foreign objects and it's basically tracking the wrong things. And then you end up with broken visual inertial odometry, and then it just flies off, or it'll roll away. It'll just think it's somewhere else. So if you clean those lenses, make sure that they're pristine. You can even, sometimes with some systems, you're able to go into the system and check the camera quality so that you can make sure that what you're looking at, or what the drone is looking at, is the way it's supposed to be when you go out and fly. Plus, I mean, overall, having clean lenses and all that stuff to do the job. Some of you people go out there to do construction photography. Those images need to be as pristine as possible so that you can run them through Pix 4D or whatever modeling program, and it can render you the best images possible. You don't have like this foreign pixel that's way out here because of a dirty lens. Let me see here. Is there any question? Am I missing anything here?
You know what? So actually in our chat, we have some conversation going about keeping your lenses clean and such like that. And I asked actually a question if anybody's found any spots or anything like that on the footage. And so Tani just had mentioned, yes, found bees in my footage. Yeah. So Tani, there you go. Some good B-roll. But then Audrey asked about any recommendations for how to clean the equipment other than canned air. The compressed air obviously is not always the best choice. So do you have a recommendation for cleaning the lenses and such? Soft cloth type of thing?
Yes, soft cloth. Use a lint-free cloth. Usually if you go to Walmart, you can buy one of those lint-free cloth. They give you like a 2x2 or 3x3 inch square. The important thing is that when you wipe it, it doesn't leave any trace filaments of fabric on the thing. A shop rag, garage rag is another good one too, but it's really coarse. If you go get the ones for like the eyeglasses, that's better because it's a nice, smooth, doesn't scratch the lens, which is also really important. But then you just go there and you clean it off. Don't use anything like paper towels. Try to stay away from paper towels or anything that's gonna leave streaks and spots and stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like if for anybody who has a pair of glasses, has that lint-free cloth that you can use to clean stuff. That's like the best stuff. And I have one in my bag all the time, which by the way, when it comes to gear and stuff, that's another thing. You just might want to have like this tiny little pack. care if it's a Tupperware or a little, like a, I don't know, World of Warcraft cloth bag that you just drop stuff into. But you got to make sure that you have those things that, like, if you're out there in the field and every once in a while, like I love flying the drones FPV style. So I will go through trees, branches, bushes. I'll fly low right across the top of the grass sometimes because it's amazing. But every once in a while, I'll get like grass juice or some kind of weed or burr stuck on the lens, and it'll just be stuck there. And I got to bring that back. And how annoying is it when you land the drone and you're just like, all I got to do is clean the lens, and I got nothing. And for those of you who, take a dabble of spit, put it on your shirt, and wipe the lens, shame on you. Shame on you. That's gross. Don't do that. So, but still have your, like, everybody who's ever done all their prep at home and then they just leave with just a drone and the battery knows that every once in a while something happens. You got to change a prop. You got to have a screwdriver. You got to have, certain things out there in the field. So that's another thing. So spare props, bring in a cloth, screwdrivers, tweezers. Have yourself a field kit for just in case.
So also we have another comment in our chat that I am a big fan of using a landing pad when you're out in the field, and that'll reduce that sand from kicking up into the motors of your drone as well.
That's actually a pinpoint further down my list.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
because then the next because then the next thing that you're depending on is batteries. And batteries is, I mean, for all of us, every one of us, it's super, super important. Which, by the way, side note, I don't know. I don't think Jim joined us today, didn't he? He had a little incident.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I think his tool, his workshop caught on fire. I guess he had a battery fire in his workshop. So that's the thing. And myself included, I've had batteries on the charger burst. And it's from poor care or just too many cycles. To my shame, I have crashed a drone and still use that battery. And that's not good practice. That's a practice I've kind of abandoned. But basically, you want to make sure that battery, obviously fits in its slot. It's not out of shape. It's not cracked and torn. That all the leads and connectors are, they're holding strong. You also want to get in touch with a good e-waste company. Most e-waste companies, if you're just trying to get rid of, say, one or two batteries, and you just walk through their door, they'll just take it. It's too small, too much work for just one little battery. But if you go in there and you drop, 20, 30 batteries like I've done, they'll charge you like, God, it's really expensive. I think it was like $5 to dump all the batteries. So, yeah, so make sure you have a way of, make sure you have a supply chain so that you can you have enough batteries to get the job done. And that before you plug in the battery to the drone, make sure that it's, the condition of it, the health. Try to keep an eye on how many cycles. After about 100 cycles, you'll start noticing shorter flight times because they just can't hold to capacity. There's a phenomenon that happens when you plug and unplug the battery, and it loses like 1/1,000,000th of its percentage of ability to hold. So after you've done it like thousands of times with different batteries, they're just not as strong as they used to be. So making sure that you try to keep track of the cycles is important. What do you do? What do you do if you fire on the drone and it's not connecting to the transmitter? That's actually a fail-safe of ours. We when I check and make sure that it does connect, there's also a feature in there where if the RC disconnects from the drone does not detect a transmitter signal that it will land or disarm dead reckon. So basically, if I'm flying and let's say I didn't charge the transmitter for some reason, which would be really irresponsible of me, but now the transmitter died. I got nothing on the screen. The drone is still in the air. That could be a real concern for everybody. Now, everybody's going to have a slightly different plan. For ours, we have a fail-safe. After 3 seconds, it doesn't detect a transmitter. It just lands straight down, which is, I mean, it's good and it's bad because one, you recover the drone. I know that if I don't have a transmitter signal, it's going to land. The thing is, I don't know where it's going to land. It could land in a river, it could land on the freeway, it could land on top of a skyscraper, in which case I have to be aware enough and hopefully responsible enough to be able to recover that drone somehow. I have flown a drone high up into a tree where you couldn't get to it with any kind of a ladder. I've climbed up into it. I was like 50, 60 feet in the air, still couldn't find the drone after days, called the city for help. They didn't want to bring out a boom lift or anything to help me to find it. It took me 3 days to find this drone. And it's because, well, I lost transmitter signal and it just coasted right into a tree. So, but that also brings me to another thing. Like, that's why for me, it's important. Like while it's on the ground, there's 2 checks that I do before I even launch the drone. And one is I make sure that I can arm and disarm. Real simple check. Just turn it on, turn it off. Make sure I can do that. And if the drone has a kill switch, which not all our drones have kill switches, I make sure that I can kill it if it does. When I have that kind of control, then I'm good to do the next flight, which, let's see here. Taking a look around hazards, blah, blah, blah. So everybody knows to look out for treetops, power lines, birds, coyotes, wolves, rattlesnakes. I've actually been to a site where right where we set up, we were feet away from a bunch of rattlesnakes. So it's important to walk your site and make sure that you know what's around you. And the kind of ground conditions, of course, will help you understand what kind of launching conditions you have. Yes, a landing pad is preferred. The bigger, the better. I prefer. I think I have a 48-inch. Come on, I can't forget the name. I forgot the brand, but I got a 48-inch one because I fly drones of all sizes. I've actually flown an inspired flight. That thing is about 24 to 28 inches in wingspan. It's pretty big, 30 something. And the whole thing weighs like 50 pounds, but I needed a landing pad to support that. A majority of my flights are from like mid-sized drones that weigh anywhere between 1,000 to 1,300 grams. So now when of course, weather, class airspace, I'm sure we're all familiar with that. I'm not going to beat that down. But I also practice something that I describe as what's called direction and force safety initiative. For those of you who go and put down their drones willy-nilly and then launch, I consider that unsafe because it was taught to me that orientation, as we all know, is extremely important. So what I do is I put down the drone on the ground and I keep telling myself direction of force safety initiative, which is short for DESI. And it makes me remember to point the drone away from me when I launch and when I land. So that is something to.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
We have a new one out there, huh?
I made that up in the 107 class, and I've stuck to it ever since Anthony, he put the drone down backwards, and he launched it and pitched forward, and the drone came straight at his face. Yeah, ever since I've seen that, never. I will always make sure it's facing away from me when I launch and when I land.
Yeah, Good.
So
really fun.
now it comes down to we go out and we definitely fly, and I'm not always alone. I would say 80% of my flights I'm out by myself, namely because my role in the company is primarily pretend customer. That's my first role. If I'm you buying the drone off of the website and I ship it, you know, when you pull it out of the package, there's certain expectations. You want it to work. You want everything to work the way it's supposed to work. So I'm the guy who's supposed to be like, okay, basically I'm pretend customer. I come in and I grab the software package, which gets upgraded every night. All these guys are working every day to upgrade the software and make it better and better and better. One day I'll come in and I'll be like, I'll turn the drone on and pass all the pre-flights, and I will arm the drone. Props are spinning, great. I will go 100% throttle and the drone won't even get off the ground because they did not give maximum RPMs enough a good digit. So then we got to climb into the hood and we got to go find the PID tunings. And then we go, okay, maximum RPM for, manual mode, set it from 12,000 to 24,000. And now we can launch the drone. So, which PID tuning is not something that a lot of people would need to do unless you get into like FPV flying, or if you have a business that requires you to build. And then once you get to a certain point, you got to tune the drone. I mean, your car engine is the same thing. People just throw all these parts together, but then it gets into the hands of someone who knows how to really tune the motor so that the timing is right, the airflow is happening, the right amount of electricity is going, that the engine is working according to design so that when it gets into your hands, you're happy. Well, every day I'm an unhappy customer because I have that love-hate relationship with the hardware and software team. They'll come out, they'll be like, hey, you know what? We got this new software thing and it's supposed to track, 3 franostats a frame and it's going to do this. And then I'll take it. They worked on it for like 2 weeks. I'll bring it to my flight cage. I'll get it up in the air and I'll go back to them 10 minutes later and go, it don't work. And then they go, Gah! And then they get all mad. But that's the progress. I sit there and I tell them it doesn't work. And then they tell me how it worked. And then they go and they make their little tweaks. They change numbers. They change the code. And then 2-3 days later, I'm going, okay, this is starting to feel good. It's in the air. It's doing what it's supposed to, but it's toilet bowling in the air or something. And then the guys will be like, oh, we can fix that, And then it comes to the hardware systems. These guys, they keep taking my drone and they'll take, the camera lens that's on there, and then they replace it with something that's new. They're like, this is a new camera lens, higher resolution, smaller, power requirements, it fits in the spots. And then now I got to test all that. So I'm constantly keeping track of hardware changes and software changes. And it's mind numbing across multiple drones even. So sometimes it even gets confusing, but the emphasis is still the same. I'm the pretend customer, and until I'm happy, it doesn't hit the shelves. So by the time it does hit the shelves, you guys have, a dependable drone. And it's being used by tons of companies like, well, Brink. They're there. If anybody's ever looked up the company Brink, Ascend, God, I can't even think of all the even Amazon, Nokia. God, the list goes on. I mean, we've got tons and tons of people who are actually using our voxels. And the original idea behind the company was actually just to make the flight boards and whatnots. And these guys came from Qualcomm, so they're really, really smart. They know how to make PCB boards and throw the components on there and make it look. They literally have a computer on a board this size.
Oh, I think he's getting out of the car to go get it.
There, hold on.
Don't forget, there's an NDA on stuff.
Well,
Just
no,
click-
this one's okay because this is actually what we market on the internet. This
Oh, turn it a
is
little
the
bit. There we
Voxel
go,
2.
that's good. Head up.
There we go.
Ooh.
So this is the Voxel 2. This is as strong, if not as stronger than your cell phone. And this chip right here is what's in your computer, in your cell phone. If anybody's got like a Galaxy or Samsung. But yeah, So they put that in there. And then the company was just like, well, you say your stuff works, prove it. And so they took on the challenge and they got together and they put together a small drone. They got it to work. And then when they presented it to them saying, hey, we got it to work. And they're like, great, we'll take a bunch of those. And they said, well, how many boards do you want? They said, no, we want the drones. So the board company metamorphosized into a drone company based on the consumer demand. I hope I said that right.
Awesome. Awesome.
Right? Like they started out just burgers, but people wanted burgers, fries, and drinks and the whole deal. And this company basically turned into a drone company. And now our drones, by the way, big news for us, we just hit the Blue UAS list. So all our stuff is government and American approved and all that stuff. And that includes not only the flight board, the systems, the transmitter, and we are working on the visual transmitter system and whatnot. So like pretty soon, every single component in the drone is going to be all American. So, but what's important is that we hit the blue, we met the Blue UAS requirements. So, where was I? Shit. Sorry. So, okay.
Remind everybody we are live, okay?
So, couple other things. So now it gets down to sharing airspace.
Oh, he's back at the door. I'm sure he can't hear this, but while he's grabbing up more stuff, the one thing that I want to say, so Johnny, before we kind of move on, I want to point out one thing that you touched on, and I want to circle back to it a little bit more. As far as that safety settings and the parameters, when you get your drone, it's really important that you go through the software and learn your drone. And you had mentioned that, what is your drone going to do? When it loses that connection, there's so many options in there that it can do. And you have that confidence in knowing, I know what my drone is going to do. I asked it to hover. I've asked it to return to home. I've asked it to land. And you can program that part. Same with the return to home. You would program it to say, okay, I'm going to come back at this elevation. So getting to know your drone. For you, Johnny, every day is a different day. You may have some of those familiar things on a drone, but they hand you a different drone every day. So being prepared for that, you have to take into account what if scenarios every day. So
yep.
Kudos. So I just wanted to circle back to that because it's such an important key, knowing that, just taking into account what happens. Not every day is the same.
There's a big, huge difference between knowing what you want it to do, what you need to do, versus a real-time, real-world problem where what do you do? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has some kind of a plan if their car breaks down. You know what I mean? If you're out there on the road, you get a flat tire, I know what to do. Uh-oh, car's dying. I know what to do. You know what I mean? I got AAA. I got parts. I've got things. I've got tools. Some people are self-sufficient. So the drone thing is really no different. I mean, it's still a vehicle. It still requires your care, your love. You got to go through it and just make sure, hey, are you healthy? Are you good enough to fly today? I wanted, in the beginning with this company, I wanted to fly every drone every day, and I just wanted to impress them. And if there was something wrong with the drone, I still tried to fly it. No. When there's something wrong with the drone, when I'm going through the system checks alone and it says, hey, yeah, everything's working, but the camera server and the feature tracker. Well, there's no point flying because everybody can fly a drone in manual mode. That's, basically an AI featureless thing. Altitude holds altitude, but position holds X, Y, and Z. And without, say, feature tracker and camera server working together in tandem, it's not going to work. There's no point in testing position hold. I'm just going to basically take the drone for a joyride. Now, you would be the same thing if you tried to drive down the road and for some reason your car kept braking every 50 feet. How many people are going to try and keep going to work or get their task done? No, you're going to stop and you're going to try and figure it out right then and there. How bad the situation is, can it be remedied, or do I need to take extreme measures? So for those situations, you got to make sure, as undesirable as it is, you got to have a plan B. And my list has grown considerably over the years. I've got plans and plans and plans. Now, I can also tell you, it'll do you no good to have a plan and take no steps to implement it. It's like, what's that saying? Knowledge is worthless without application. So in one sense, after I crashed the drone enough times and I spent hours looking for drones, I finally went and invested $10, well, $20 for two. This little guy right here saves you hours and hours of looking for a drone. Great. I just dropped it in my car. I don't know where it is. Okay, so if you go out, you're going to fly some long range stuff. You know, I mean, if you're standing in front of a building, I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay, but it still wouldn't hurt to have a plan B. So two things. Okay, here we go. All right, so remote ID module, crash buzzer. I strap both these onto the drones every day. This one broadcasts my legal requirements, as everybody already knows. We've already beat remote ID, to death. Okay, so here's my remote ID module. I strap this on there. I make sure it's charged. I make sure it's broadcasting before I fly. I actually go out and I check the app on my phone. If I see my signal, I'm 0.1 meters away. I'm good to go. This has got like a 5-kilometer signal range. So this lets other pilots know that's not flying with my team, that I'm flying in the area. So then, but even if you crash with a remote ID module, this is only going to get you so close. And I say that because I flew one drone into a tree and it got me to the tree, but I couldn't find the drone. It was this little guy that was making all sorts of noise. It was just going beep, 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 and I could just zero right in on it. And without this, hours, days, it's not fun. You want one of these. Now, side note, when you install these on the drones, don't put it on top of the GPS.
Good point.
I'll let you guess why.
Yeah, placement is very important.
Yeah, very important, because nothing's worse than losing your investment. You want to, you guys, some of you guys spend $250 on a drone and it's FPV and it's just for fun, whatever. But I don't know too many people that's willing to just walk away from a drone they spent 5, 6, 10 grand on, and they're just like, crash, whatever, and just walk away. They're gonna start hiring hound dogs. You start calling all your friends. You start ranking up a beer bill, and you just start going, everybody, I gotta find this drone. If you lost your car in a jungle, you would try to find it, wouldn't you? So this guy right here, crash buzzer. It's so cheap. It's worth it.
When it's in the water, it's still big crocodile tears, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheila knows that one.
Yeah. I've had 2 different friends drop their drones in the drink, and we just sat there and watched it, and we're like, even if we recovered it, it's garbage. The important thing to remember, though, is that you really should try to make an attempt to get the drone out of the water because of the components. And most importantly, that battery is just going to be sitting in the water. And for myself personally, I'm an animal lover. I've rescued everything from snakes, tortoises, cats, squirrels, you name it. Um, you know, fish. I know they're just fish, but we eat fish. I don't want one with lipo on it or lithium ion or whatever. I don't imagine it's good. But making sure you share airspace, like I've gone to so many places where I have to fly with other people, and more often than not, it turns into a lot of fun when you introduce yourself as a fellow hobbyist, or if you're working. Most of these people, they bring their drones and their fixed wings out there, and they're out there to have a good time, you know. And you go out there and they want to see what you got. You want to see what they got. It's kind of like that. It's a small brotherhood, but you got to go out there and you just got to give everybody that respect. Hey, I'm launching. I'm going to fly over there. All right, cool. I'm coming in. And so you give them the space, communication. I've emphasized that very, very, very much with all my people, especially when we're flying. Like if we're trying to do 2-position hover holds, we make sure we're 2 separate spots, even 15, 20 feet difference in elevation for any reason. I don't know why, but it just feels safe to me to have them at different altitudes. Motor cutouts. For anybody who's ever experienced the motor cutout while the drone is flying, that's fun. I've had them drop from like 150 feet, just flying, and then it just decides to turn off and it comes crashing down. Those are possible. That's when you have a critical failure. It's either hardware or something went really, really bad in the software. Either way, if you're not familiar with getting underneath the hood, or you have a hardware software team that's available who can look at if you can recover the logs, you can find out what the problem is, or you just try to recreate the problem, which is even harder than experiencing the problem. You can recreate the problem, then you have an ability. You've given the hardware and software team the ability to solve the problem. But if it's just like this one-time phantom weird anomaly where your motor's cut out and you lost a drone, well, that's not helpful to us. But as a warning to other pilots, that can happen. What if your batteries aren't measuring correctly and you're flying at 16 volts instead of 18, and all of a sudden the drone just says, I give up? You got to make sure, you're flying in safe airspace where if that happens, your drone is recoverable. Hopefully not over somebody's pool or yard or on the freeway.
Honey, I'm going to let you know that it is, we are already at 9:52.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah.
That conversation is going great.
So then let me just hit a couple things real quick. Dealing with angry people, I've had them. It's easy to just kind of like turn that back on them. But I found that all the situation dissolves immediately as soon as you just respond to them in a calm, cool voice. I've had people go, hey, do you have a permit to fly here? And I'll be like, yes, sir. It's Class G airspace. I have permission to fly. Thank you. And they'll just be like, I don't know how to argue with this guy, so I'm going to keep walking my dog. So that happens. I've had some person come up and he tried to take the transmitter out of my hand. I've actually got a video of me being harassed by a guy, and I just kept telling him, keep my distance, just stay away from me. Just keep your distance and stay calm and cool. Don't meet anger with anger. That's the worst thing you could do, and just be defensive. And lastly, when I am done with every flight, I make sure I practice campground rules. I look around and I leave that place in the same condition or better than when I got there. I make sure that it's clean, that I'm not leaving any trash, nothing. And then, of course, there's the rally and review. If I went out and I flew with a team before we leave the site, we all get together and we talk about, hey, how was this? How was this flight? How was this? Gather the data and make sure that all the drones are operating before everybody's unanimous about, how things are going. And if there's a problem, we address it, and then we bring it back to the office and attempt to fix it. Oh my God, I need more time. Desi, how far can we stretch this? Another half hour?
I'm sorry, but we have wound up and this is it.
You would have to go back to editing the videos.
Yes,
What's
right,
that?
right. Good point. You know what? Thank you, Sheila, for
Let's have a
reminding me.
part 2.
Part two.
There we go. But I just do want to, oh, there we go. They said part two, question mark. So I do want to do one shout out, because if you have been following the Coffee Connection for the many, many years that we have been going, thank you. Thank you very much. But Johnny is the one who always did the edits before they were posted. So we're online live, and it's done a little bit different. So this is his first year of having a little freedom. But Johnny, thank you for all those years of doing all of the editing that you've done.
You know what's funny, Desi, is all the video edit time turned into landscaping yard work now. So I don't know if that was a good trade-off.
Yeah, funny how that is. All right, well, there's a bunch of comments going into our chat about thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for sharing your experience. And Johnny, I do, you're your wealth of knowledge, and so I'm glad we had the opportunity to hear from you and for you to share just your
My
work.
pleasure. I'm glad after all this time I was finally able to, like, I think for me to be a legitimate spokesperson, especially on the side of safety, I needed just a little bit of time to gather a bunch of real world experience, because now I'm literally speaking to everybody from the heart. It's not just the companies, like the company's effort is phenomenal and it's great and all that stuff, but this is a meeting between pilots to pilots, and I'm just sharing my experience with everyone. So, because I know everybody can relate, because once I start talking about like VIO and IMUs and TCP connections, and the people are gonna start falling asleep. And personally, that's why I don't do software. It's kind of boring.
So Johnny, I did put your email into our chat. There has been a couple people saying they wanted to reach out to you. So hopefully you can make that connection with others as well. All right.
Yes.
Yes. And Sheila says, save the chat. Yes.
Save the chat.
A lot of great information in there. So thank you. Thank you, Johnny, for sharing with us today. Thank you, everybody, for coming and sharing. Next week, we have Miriam with Drum Life sharing. So that's another good one next week. So, all righty, everybody, have a wonderful day. Get out and fly and have fun. All
Be
right.
safe.
Bye.
Thanks, Johnny.
All right,
Cheers.
bye.